My Christian view on whether aliens exist or not is a little bit multifaceted. So today we're going to dive into this both from a biblical standpoint, evidence that we have thus far on whether aliens exist based off of what the government says, what civilians say as well. Today I want to just dive into it right off the bat. So we've had a couple batches of alien files be released from our United States government. They didn't say much in the first batch. The first batch came out saying a lot of admirals of the Navy and different high-ranking individuals got classified video footage of naval ships and Air Force from those naval ships gathering intel on flying objects moving at crazy speeds, diverting at a 90-degree, 180-degree angle all of a sudden without any trace of sound or thrusters or any type of fuel source that is known to man. So, can that be reproduced via different technologies we have nowadays? In my opinion, yes. Now, the second batch of alien files that was recently released and what was just leaked to Peter Ducey at Fox News says a little bit more than what was released in the first batch. And that is that the CIA has been doing experiments on alien life and interbreeding, and that they walk among us. So this is something that goes into the conspiracies of the reptilian people, of the people Trump supposedly met with that you can see here. That's a little bit more down the rabbit hole. So we're not going to go too far down today, but I just want to talk about the generalized understanding of my Christian perspective on today's world events. There are a lot of things our government is doing that is extremely questionable and that many people disagree with, including myself, from both sides. I want to just touch on the considerations to be taking into the equation whether we can truly say aliens exist. And number one, what is an alien? You know, an alien is a life form coming from another planet that has reached our planet. And not that second part being a determining factor. But the reality is that you can technically describe a bacteria found on Mars as an alien life form. So let's dive more into the specifics into societal understanding of what an alien is, being a extremely intelligent life form that has been able to create a UFO aircraft or spacecraft that is able to get to Earth and be able to survive here on Earth with the oxygen level that we have in our atmosphere. And, you know, what is the reason for them being here and all that stuff. So first of all, diving into what the Bible says. God says that through his word, through people, because people wrote the Bible, that we are made in the image and likeness of God. So if aliens were real, were they also created in the image and likeness of God? I personally do not believe so. Are they more of an animal? Do they have a soul? Do they go to heaven or hell? All things to question. And I do not believe that that is the case if they were real. So the Bible does not specifically clarify whether aliens are real or not. Not saying that there isn't. I do believe that there's probably bacteria or other life forms on other planets because we live in an ever-expanding universe that God created. But there is no clarification from the Bible. So there are a few things, again, taking into consideration this question mark of whether aliens exist based off of what the US government has given us and just people's sightings of UFOs and creatures and stuff like that, because there are many. My personal take, right off the bat from the biblical standpoint of a Christian, is there are something called demons. They are fallen angels, and back in the Old Testament, we can read at the beginning that there were demons that bred with women. And part of the dynamics of the flood that Noah built an ark for that destroyed all human life forms, except a handful, and all creatures except pairs of the ones that Noah got on board the ark, all of the inbred people were wiped out. And then we later read that Goliath was a descendant, so that's a question mark there. That's a whole other biblical theological discussion that we can get into at some point. Are all giants or all tall people descendants of these fallen angels? I don't know. The Nephilim, to be specific. So are these flying things demons? Are the creatures that individuals, for instance, I'm here in Miami, Florida, there was a potential sighting of multiple 11, 12-foot figures in, I believe it was the Dolphin Mall here in Miami, that people were claiming to be aliens. Like 50 to 100 cop cars showed up. Super viral. There was no actual footage of it, just firsthand accounts supposedly of individuals that saw these tall shadowy figures in the mall, and it caused widespread panic. Were they aliens or were they demons? I have traveled all over the world. I have been to an African tribe in northern South Africa where I've met witch doctors, where they do ceremonies and different activities that I cannot say here on YouTube, where they are trying to summon spirits and what I consider demons, and the demons talk to them, they guide them, and they possess them to do certain things, and they take on powers of a demon, of an evil spirit, of a spirit. And to them, it's a good thing, because that's the power that they worship. And the United States, you can dive into so much stuff. The Freemasons, the people fueling Epstein, funding Epstein, and the debauchery that he and people globally, the elites, are into, satanic rituals, and many other things that, again, I'm not going to be talking on here about. Those different activities welcome in evil spirits. So again, were these different flying things, were these things talking to people that took people into a trance and they were operated on, all these different things, were those just demonic possessions? Were they demonic seeings? Were they visions from the demonic world? I don't know. I'm not here to give any specifics, because until I see it, I'm just talking. This is my opinion as a Christian. The other thing I just want to dive into, outside of the Bible, scriptures, again, it's clear that we don't know. The Bible does not say whether they exist or not. I know that I'm made in the image and likeness of God. You are too, watching this and hearing this. But the other thing is that there are technologies in the United States that are a question mark to civilians like myself. I have a very close person in my life that is a high-ranking individual in the military. And this individual has talked to me about wild technology 8 to 10 years ago that existed that he worked with. And I'm not saying something like light weapons or anti-gravity machines or anything like that. I'm just talking about drone warfare and whatnot that goes far beyond what any civilian understands or is capable of purchasing or viewing. So here in Miami, I literally just last week with my wife, we looked out our balcony on the 30th floor and we saw a drone light show above the water for probably some high-end event here in Miami, which is a commonplace thing. We see fireworks, drone light shows, and they move because they were coded to be able to do certain functions, light up in a certain way, light turns on and off a certain way, they move into another position, then boom, another light turns on in a different place on the drone, and it makes it look like a freaking flying dragon or whatever. So drones, in the way that civilians understand them, exist and exist far surpassing what we see just with a drone light show or what we see in Russia and Ukraine. So the question mark is, can drones reciprocate visually the level of wild sightings of alien UFOs that we know of today, that we've seen through the viral videos all over the internet, high in the clouds or low above the waters, that you see from the, I believe it was an F-22 that was flying over the Pacific, and it was like what, 100 miles or something like that off our coast, that was flying low above the water, and it all of a sudden, going like 1,000 miles per hour according to this pilot, shifted 90 degrees within a blink of an eye. There are technologies that can turn on a dime, but usually you will hear them. Usually there's a fuel source being emitted that any type of engineer would be able to understand. The thing I want to bring up next is the Invention Act of 1951. The United States government post-World War II wanted to be able to take advantage of the civilian population's creative mind. Because the US government, there's so many slow trek things that have to take place in order for certain technological advantages to be able to come out just purely from our US government, the military, defense contractor companies and stuff like that. So this act was passed in order that the civilian population in the private sector would be able to help the US government, and the US government would be able to utilize the civilian population's creative, no paperwork for the most part compared to them, loophole. So this act was passed, and they are able to not seize the patent, not seize the invention, if it's patented, so that's a key there. But they are able to legally silence the person who owns the patent to fill in the blank invention, for instance, the water engine, because there are numerous accounts where engines were created that were fueled off of water. And one of the accounts in the 80s were that there was a man who had an engine that he was able to drive a Oldsmobile back then, and he was able to drive it solely based off of water. This would be revolutionary for our planet. It would bring the lower class much, much higher up immediately, because no one's freaking paying for the crazy amount of gas payments that we have to do every single month, the car payment as well, because so many things in the process of being able to create energy would be so much lower. And this individual passed away suddenly, and the family, according to them, the invention and the research on this engine just disappeared from this man's home. And later it was made known that the FBI seized it. And, was this guy, did he have a patent for it? I don't know. But that's a situation where there are, in the civilian private sector, inventions that we do not legally understand because they are protected under this act. So is there technology, for instance, Tesla? I'm not talking about Elon Musk Tesla, I'm talking about the original Tesla. The Tesla coil, and the inventor of it. There were technologies coming out of Germany, for instance, and the United States taking German scientists to work on the A-bomb that just kind of disappeared from the civilian understanding. After that happened, a lot of the technologies that were here in the US being thrown into the civilian population for profit, it was phenomenal, but at the same time, I would argue, and a lot of people like me would argue, that there are inventions out there that probably far surpass what we know and see today. For instance, the iPhone. Do you think that every year a new iPhone comes out and they don't already have the technology for the iPhone 5, 10 years from now? No, Apple is a company that wants to make profit. I'm not bashing it for it. I'd probably do the same. But I'm just saying the iPhone 20, probably the technology already exists. Probably they already know what's going to come about. So the question mark is, under the Invention Secrecy Act of 1951, are there inventions that would potentially provide an answer to these wild technological achievements that supposed aliens have achieved that we have seen in these viral videos? Would that give some sort of an explanation? I don't know. What do you think? Comment in the comment section. Under this Invention Act, the government again is able to silence the inventor and the patent holder. And even when that patent holder dies, it gets passed down the lineage to the next individual in the immediate family of that person. And the disclosure is still present, so they are not able to disclose it. So if the invention is potentially harmful to the US government and military, they legally are allowed to silence the patent holder. It's just, like, the fact that the US government is allowed to do that is, number one, in my opinion, a complete breach of the First Amendment. Number two, it's something that is extremely mind-boggling because we as US civilians, we are funding the US government, state and federal level, and technically, according to this democracy and republic of the United States of America, we are the beholders of power. We're supposed to be. We vote, an individual gets into office, and they are supposed to do things for our benefit. Well, according to them, they passed this act so that they are helping to defend the United States of America, therefore they're defending us, the civilian population. I don't know. So, based on the Bible, based off the inventions that we know today, do we have technologies, and is there a demonic presence that is flying around, possessing people? Is there, again, a technology that is able to do things that we have no frickin' idea visually that we see day to day? Do we have something that is capable of doing things that the US government has come out in the second wave of alien files? I don't know. Is it a complete psyop? I would not put it past them. I think aliens would unite the world against an evil force called aliens from fill-in-the-blank planet. And it'd be a great opportunity to do what? Seize more power. Look at taxation in World War I and II. Where do you think taxes came from? There were revolutions on 1% taxation. What do you think the Boston Tea Party was from? Taxation on tea. So the question mark is, why are people not questioning, yes, are aliens real or not? That's a big deal. Secondarily, what the hell is the US government going to be doing if something like that comes about? This phrase, the New World Order, has been in existence for decades, and individuals high in the elite sector, where they're billionaires, high-ranking government officials, elected and non-elected, have been talking about this for years. Central digital, oh my gosh, central digital currency, being able to cut off the freedoms of the Western world that we have, and having government have absolute control. And then if you even look in the book of Revelation, it discusses a man being the not a man, it does not say that, but the Antichrist coming and appearing as Christ and having all these miracles and powers, and he's coming from the sky just as Jesus will. I don't know. Sounds, Alex Jones, who probably a lot of you are very skeptic about, and I am too. But, he predicted 9/11. He predicted a lot of stuff that has happened in our U.S. history in the last, 3-4 decades. Is he a CIA plant? I don't know. And with those predictions, he dove into what present day is happening between the elites and their desire and actions to rule not just the US, but actually the world, especially the Western world, and taking minerals, especially from the lower end, third world countries, unfortunately. And we see that today. We see pretty much pointless wars being lied about the reasons why we're involved with them solely just for resources, which is not stated typically to the civilian population. And the media twists things because obviously they're in bed with the both elites, military industrial complex. So he predicted these things, and why are we not also listening to what the AI tech CEOs are talking about? Why are the safety officers within Google's AI base and many of the other tech companies out there, why are they all simultaneously quitting? Because they're seeing AI run away. What's the point in that? So these are all just question marks to give a better understanding into looking at this question about demons versus aliens versus government secrets. Are they actually aliens? Are they not? A lot of people have predicted these different things to come about, and that these different things would actually be a use that the US government and elites utilize to borderline enslave. And my current working theory is that yes, that is the reason that a lot of these things are being disclosed, not for the sake of humanity and that people can thrive with a better future. It's actually pretty much the exact opposite, that a ruling class would be able to far exceed what the human race has been able to achieve thus far and actually step into a place of being a godlike individual. Most of these people are not actually religious in the way that standard humans like myself and you watching believe so. But these people are desiring to transcend the human emotional state that we live in, where we're just trying to get by. They are trying to become immortal, eternal, and become like gods. And a lot of Christians compare AI and a lot of different things to the Tower of Babel, and we're just kind of waiting to see, what God is going to do about that. I don't necessarily believe the passive theology of a lot of Christians today, to sit back and wait and see, but it is what it is. So guys, I've been on a rant for a while, but I appreciate you hanging around. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you found this video just to be a fun thought experiment. Fun might not be the right word, but I appreciate you following along in this video. Please watch my other videos as well. Helps my page a lot. Send this to your friends. Send this to anybody that you think would be interested in the subject. And hey, if you disagree with everything I'm saying, freaking comment in the comment section. I don't care. It doesn't faze me, and I appreciate the engagement. So guys, thank you again. Love you all. Peace.